Hey, Billy Paul here. Between your guy Todd and my guy Zach, there's no telling these guys they can't do something. Or they loaded it very nicely, very safely, and safely made it home without incident. So I thought I'd give you a quick overview of it. I see some what we call short planking up in here. This plank extends from here to the bow. These two guys from here to the bow, they should extend from way back in here. My guess is there may be rot, or the other thing that could happen is the wrong style of bow stop, and when you miss the trailer, the bow stop gouges into the sides of the boat. We also see that right here in the top plank and right here down in this corner. So my guess is either there's some rot going on there, or it could have been trailer rash. Let's see. As I suspected, there's a lot of orange peel on the varnish. You can look. You can see the reflection. In the reflection, you see all the variation. What that should look like is I've got one we varnished in the next room, and the other thing that I noticed under here, and while I'm going to the next room, let me just zoom in. So you see all these circular scratches. That's from an orbital sander. The orbital sanders are a no-no on the orbital sanders are a no-no on these boats, because the stain doesn't know an orbital sanding scratch from wood grain. So here's what your varnish should look like. Now, we could improve the varnish that's on there by doing extra coats, but you see I have a mirror. You can see my, and the straighter the lines in the mirror, the better the varnish job. So, at any rate, you guys, two schools of thought. We can get you to here with maybe a half a dozen coats of varnish. If you really want to do it right, we ought to be stripping it and refinishing it and getting rid of all the orbital sanding scratches. That's much more expensive, although you don't have a lot of decks. So from that standpoint, it might not be so bad to go ahead and do it right, because you're only looking at the sides and just a very little deck area. And this was supposed to be, more than likely, this was supposed to be, vinyl. So, or painted, a painted surface. There were painted surfaces on the Super Sports. The crash rail here, of course, is wrong. This would have been gold. And then the upholstery would have been black alligator and white petaflute and gold pleated as well. And we can get the original stuff. So, and it's pretty sexy looking. If you look up 62 Holidays on the internet, you'll see some, and you can actually pick out what the interior should look like on some of those photographs. This tan area here should have been white. It's a cabin topping product. It's still made. You see some dock rash areas here. So one thing is, like I say, we can put like 5 or 6 more coats on here, and we can get this to look like a mirror. But if you look close, then you'll still be able to see all the random orbit sanding scratches, and you'll be able to see and that leads to it being splotchy. So it's pretty splotchy right here. And then you can do nothing, that's maybe the best option, is do nothing, let the varnish fail in 4 or 5 years, and then do a strip and refinish. But it's gonna look like this for 4 or 5 years instead of looking like nice and smooth like a mirror. All right, that's just a preliminary report. We'll be doing a compression test later today, and we'll be checking the condition, obviously, of the engine when we do that, and we'll check some of the other, we'll be checking some of the other stuff. Yeah, chrome's a little tired. You see the pitting pitting is actually the base metal. Chrome is porous, so the base metal is actually pitting and opening the pores, and so it'll always be pitted until it's re-chromed again. Chrome on this boat would run about $3,500. Your steering wheel, let me get a few of these obvious things that I can get to here. And by the way, we have a boat that we'll have back in storage this winter that we can copy and make you the correct seats from. So right here we have this is the correct steering wheel. It's missing the horn ring. The horn ring's broken off. There's the nub of it right there, and a nub of it up there. Let's see here, what else we got that's not standard. The gauges actually look pretty good. Looks like they might have been rebuilt. The dash is the wrong color. It's supposed to be a gold anodized. Here comes the trailer that I would suggest that we copy for you. This is a wishbone trailer. These run $6,000. Let me walk around that here in a minute. This is the fuel tank that was installed. I would suggest that, well, first of all, it's not Coast Guard approved, or at least I don't think it is. I see a tag, so I could be wrong, but it's been heavily modified. So my guess is this guy is not Coast Guard approved. I would suggest a new tank. One of the reasons is that if it's not Coast Guard approved, then you have a loss and it's due to fuel, then your insurance can decide not to pay off. So apparently, supposedly, I've not tried that myself, but that's supposedly the case. So according to the insurance, according to Haggerty. Let's see. So yeah, let me walk you around this trailer. Okay, so we have disc brakes on both axles, aluminum wheels, radial tires, aluminum fenders, which, well, by the way, the aluminum fenders is the least expensive way to go, because if I have to paint them, that's extra labor. We have bunks that are made to fit the contour of the bottom of the boat. This is the heaviest 4-inch channel that can be purchased. It's like the 13 and a quarter pound per foot channel iron. The bow stop, this style of bow stop is the kind that won't gouge your planks, because your bow stops up in here. It hits up in here on the rub rail. Here we go, up in here on the rub rail. Surge brakes. Like I said, both axles. I can do electric brakes and save some money. And if you have this type of a bow stop, for example, when you get those, when you put your boat on and you miss being centered, then oftentimes you actually break this rubber and you start gouging into the, if the rubber's even still there anymore, then you start gouging into the into the bolt. So that's probably what happened on the front of this boat up here. So anyhow, these run $6,000. You probably don't have to have brakes. I could do a single axle without brakes for substantially less. But if you like this style, we'll get the details of how you'd like it to be configured, and we can put you a price together for one. Okay, that's the preliminary assessment of it, and we'll do some on the mechanical later.